All right, this is Matt DeBerry trying to piss people off, okay? Tennessee fans. Is Neyland Stadium overrated? All right, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I thought of it this week. This is going to be Georgia's biggest game of the season, going up to Neyland Stadium. I've covered three Georgia Tennessee games up there. Georgia's had no problem winning that game, and maybe it's because I'm behind Glass Dean up in the press box, but I don't get that natural feel like this is some top three, top five environment in college football. I saw what they did against Alabama last year. Place was going bonkers, was going nuts, but from my experience, think it's a tad overrated. The Rocky Top is not exactly a intimidating song that they're playing. It's kind of you get your banjo out, you start playing. It's not real intimidating. Running through the tee, getting onto the stadium, not real intimidating. And the place can get pretty quiet real quick. I've seen it quiet more often than I've seen it real rowdy. It's just what I'm saying. I do think it's probably going to be the toughest environment they play next year, but slightly overrated in my book. Now, you've covered the games
Okay.
up there more than I have. You were up there for the 15 game. I'm sure it was loud. I'm sure it was
Yeah.
bonkers.
Oh yeah.
But 2 years later, when they got shut out, half the people were gone at halftime. I don't think it's going to be
That's
the same
true.
way this fall, but from my personal experience, tad overrated. I don't get that same feeling that I get, with Sandstorm. When I'm in the press box and they do Sandstorm in Columbia, I'm
Okay.
like, all right, let's get this thing going. I'm pumped up in
In
my
your
seat
se-
here
in
with
your seat.
and I'm getting nuts. I'm going nuts. I'm ready for the game. Never got that feeling at Neyland
Who
Stadium.
are your top? You said they were not top three, or you're trying to have a hard time getting the balls in there. Who are your? I mean, you're going to put Carolina in there. You got
No,
Simpson. Oh
LSU
no,
was nuts. LSU was pretty
LSU for
wild.
sure, for sure.
I think Georgia, I guess, setting the record, the decimal level last year. I think it has to be one of the top environments of college football. I think
Okay,
numbers say that. That's not just me. Auburn can get pretty rowdy.
it can.
Um, I think Auburn's loudest has been louder than Tennessee's loudest. From my experience covering a game, I've seen Jordan Hare louder, or
Yeah,
heard it
and
louder
I could
than
say I know what you're
Tennessee.
saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying. You got another one?
Never covered a game at Alabama, but I feel like it's different over there because they expect to win all the time, and they don't go absolutely just nuts like
Right.
I think other people do. I've heard Oregon is crazy loud because of the shape of the stadium. The Michigan apparently is really, really loud. A lot of people in there. I wouldn't know.
Right.
Um, Notre Dame was really cool, but it was 50-50. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like it was crazy
Yeah.
loud from one specific fan base. But I don't know. Neyland Stadium, to me, a little overrated, Dean. A little
All
overrated.
right. So here's Matt. This guy right. This is Matt right here doing this to all the Tennessee folks. Which I cannot wait. Hey, listen, if you've not got double dogs yet, we got a few more Stetsons. Stetson signed. I have fewer than 20 remaining, so you've been warned. That link is down below. I've been to Neyland every game since '03, so I don't know how many that is. That's maybe 10, something like that. It's an extremely difficult place to play. I'll let you have your fun there for a while. I think that is the question for me is which is more difficult is it Tiger Stadium or Death Valley, whatever you want to call it, or is it Neyland? I think it's probably Neyland by a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I've seen Georgia lose tight games at Death Valley and at Neyland. I've seen them get blown out. I've never really seen them get blown out at Death Valley, but I've seen them get blown out at Neyland, and I've seen them just sort of have easy wins as well as sort of tighter wins like 2011 or something like that. The thing about Neyland Stadium, I talked about this a lot, is that they pump music, they pump sound into it, and there's sort of a I don't know how to describe it other than to say it's a false roof. It's not a full roof, and if you had a full roof in that place, it'd be near impossible. It's very challenging because the ambient noise is made even worse, Matt, by the there are speakers that they have positioned on the field.
Oh yeah.
I'm not aware that anybody else does that. I don't see, but like if the band isn't playing and there's nothing going on the PA at all, you can hear the ambient noise. In fact, when you're walking on the visitor sideline, which used to be the home sideline, but that's a whole other story, at Neyland, You can when you're walking past the speakers and the band is playing, or so it is very, very, very loud. So, so I always just say that because people don't think about that, but that definitely is a big thing. But I think Tennessee does a great job of really cheering on the Vols. I think it is. I think it's as difficult a place to play as there is in the league. But I say that a lot about a lot of different places. I say that about Auburn. I say that about South Carolina.
Yeah.
But Tennessee and LSU are sort of the toughest places to play. I mean, Carolina to some degree. When you're on the road, you're on the road, and Kentucky, South Carolina, Clemson. Trying to think of other places where Georgia's really not got a lot of fans when they go, because like at Vanderbilt or Georgia Tech, Georgia doesn't really play. What one thing here, Matt, is that makes Neyland tough is Georgia really doesn't play a lot of road games. Like they don't play the Gators on the road. They don't play Georgia Tech on the road, even though they do. They don't play Vanderbilt on the road, even though they do. And they play those three schools every single year. So, like, did you think Kentucky was bad?
No, it's usually cold up there, so I think that
Oh, it was
affects the
cold this
crowd
time. Let me
noise.
tell you,
It
it
was
was
very
cold.
cold. I do think that has something to do with the crowd noise, but I get why Neyland Stadium is what it is and recognized as. I mean, it's the place is massive, just
It
massive.
is big.
The fans are on top of
It's
you.
not
A lot
nice.
of people in there.
It's
No,
not
they
a nice facility at all.
no
There's
they
nothing
need some
nice about
upgrades.
Neyland, and they've
Um,
made
I,
it nicer, by the way.
I think it's spelled a little different. I was taught to sound things out in first grade, so I would say
You're just
Nayland, but
you're
it's
just
Neyland.
gonna beat these people up, man. What are you
No,
doing?
no, I'm just glad that I'm pronouncing it the correct way because for a while I wasn't. I was just sounding it out. But
Well, you
it
didn't
is
pronounce
massive.
Jordan Hare correctly, and we're gonna have all the Auburn people
Jordan.
go. Jordan,
So it should be Jer, whatever.
whatever. Yeah,
Jordan is Jordan, but I, that place in 2017 when they beat number one Georgia, number two Georgia, that place was rocking. I haven't seen
hard
Neyland Stadium like that. I expect this
because
next
you've never seen them win.
I expect this year to be different. I expect it to be a little closer, and I expect a raucous, crazy, crazy environment because what I saw against Alabama last year, I haven't seen that in person. So I know they can get loud and crazy because they are a big, passionate fan base. They love their Vols. I get it, and there's a lot of them.
Big
It's a
time.
big fan base. So I'm hoping I get to feel that crazy Neyland Stadium atmosphere more this year than I have in the past. But
Because you've seen what? You saw 17, which is like a funeral. 19, which I think Tennessee scored to go up in that game early, and that place
yeah,
popped. See, you didn't hear that, I guess. But and then
I did to a certain extent. Yeah, it was a night game too, so you did get a
yes,
little bit of that environment there.
but
But
yeah,
I don't
see,
think five-star Neyland Stadium that I keep hearing about.
well,
But
because they've not had a tight game there late, and I'll tell you, in 03 was a blowout for Georgia. 05 was a straight up knife fight, and Georgia didn't win that game until Thomas Flowers scored on a punt return.
yeah,
That was an amazing moment, frankly, in Georgia's championship season that year in 2005. 07 they got blown out. 09 they got blown out. And they were rocking pretty good both those times, but honestly, those were not as wild as like
that was
11.
11 with the
Yeah, I was
long
just gonna
Malcolm
say,
Mitchell. That was a night game. That long pass from Aaron Murray was the
yeah,
play that I remember most. But I'm sure that environment was really, really good. I mean,
they have done a better job, I think, at Tennessee of creating more noise, frankly. And there was a lull for a while there because they just weren't good, and it hurt them. And frankly, now there's still a lot of Georgia fans that go to that game. I don't know that it's 20,000, but it's not five. So um, that's noticeable too. But in 11 they had to dig that game out. That was when Georgia was sort of turning the corner on that season. And then 13 they went up there undefeated, top 10 or whatever, and everybody got hurt.
yeah.
Everybody got hurt. And so I think the loudest I've heard Neyland, I can remember two times. Uh, the loudest I've ever heard, well, the 15 game was rocking and rolling, let me tell you. And Georgia's offense was just bad that day. That was the day Nick Chubb got hurt. Grayson Lambert just, I mean, We don't need to regurgitate that. The loudest I ever heard was when Shock threw a pick six, and that's how Tennessee scored one of their. I think it was their only offensive touchdown, or their only touchdown that day until late in the game. But it gave them hope the whole time. And man, that's one of the loudest moments I've ever heard. And that's up there with, Alec Ogletree returning a block kick for a touchdown against Alabama, the Jordan Hare miracle. Help me out. Were there some other? I mean,
Well,
was Keely Ringo thing loud? Was this
it
loud?
it was an excitement
I
loud.
don't think it
I
was
mean,
loud though,
uh,
because like
I
30
I felt it
percent.
because the Georgia fans were right underneath me. That was on my side,
Okay.
and you could see them just going nuts.
Yeah.
As far as Sanford Stadium, Easton's pass to Riley Ridley,
Yes.
place was going bonkers. We
That's
don't have to talk about what happened after, but in that moment,
in that moment, that was one of the loudest. The Tennessee game this past year was louder as the game went on, and it got a bunch of rain, man. I mean, I got this image of poor Lad McConkey is getting rain poured on him. And that's when the Sanford crowd, they didn't leave. That was what was so impressive to me, was they didn't leave and they stuck with the Dogs. I think Neyland's a tough place to play. You tell us what you think. Thanks for watching.